What if the greatest clue to the Oak Island mystery was never buried in the money pit, but hidden inside human DNA? For more than centuries, explorers have searched the island using every method imaginable: ancient maps, pirate legends, advanced drilling technology, and massive excavations. Yet the truth behind Oak Island has always remained just out of reach, like a locked chamber with no key. But in Season 13 of The Curse of Oak Island, something extraordinary has happened. Researchers have turned to a completely different kind of evidence: genetic analysis taken from skeletal fragments discovered on the island. And what that DNA reveals may completely change the story we thought we knew. Instead of pointing toward famous pirates like Captain William Kidd, the genetic trail hints at a much older and far more mysterious origin, a connection that may reach across continents and centuries, possibly tied to a secret network that once spanned the entire world. If this discovery is confirmed, it could mean that Oak Island was never just about hidden treasure. It may have been part of something far bigger. Before we uncover what the DNA results revealed and why they are shaking the Oak Island investigation to its core, make sure to subscribe to Explore Truth and turn on notifications so you never miss the next hidden secret we uncover. For more than 225 years, the story of Oak Island has been a relentless cycle of excitement, followed by frustration. The legend centers on the infamous Money Pit, a deep, trap-filled shaft rumored to hide everything from pirate gold to sacred relics like the Holy Grail. Over the centuries, explorers and investors have poured enormous resources into the tiny island off the coast of Nova Scotia. They've uncovered intriguing artifacts along the way, yet the ultimate prize has always slipped out of reach. What most people don't realize is that for every mysterious object uncovered, a strand of coconut fiber or an old coin, there are mountains of mud and countless dead-end tunnels. The search has never been easy. Recently, however, during a large-scale excavation near the Money Pit, the team discovered something unlike anything found before. It wasn't treasure or timber. It was something deeply human and deeply unsettling. More than 150 feet below the surface, drilling operations brought up small, broken fragments of bone. They were ancient, darkened by centuries in mineral-rich soil. Discoveries like this had surfaced before, but could never be proven. Now technology has finally caught up with the legend. Testing confirmed something remarkable. The fragments were human remains. The team, led by the Lagina brothers, immediately realized the importance of the discovery. What made it even more intriguing was where the bones were found. They weren't part of a normal burial. Instead, they came from depths connected to the original construction layers of the mysterious Money Pit. After a careful and complex process, scientists at a specialized paleogenetics laboratory achieved something extraordinary. They successfully extracted and sequenced ancient DNA from the fragments. The researchers waited for the results, assuming they might confirm one of the long-standing theories. Perhaps the DNA would belong to a pirate from the 1600s, a Spanish sailor, or a British soldier. But the truth turned out to be far stranger. The DNA that changed everything. The lab analysis revealed two completely different genetic profiles. The first belonged to a man of European ancestry. His genetic markers pointed strongly toward Western Europe, especially France. That alone was a stunning revelation, suggesting that French individuals may have been on Oak Island centuries earlier than historians once believed. Some researchers even wondered if this could connect to the long-discussed theory involving the Knights Templar. Yet the second DNA profile shocked everyone involved in the research. This individual's ancestry wasn't European at all. Instead, the genetic markers traced back to the Levant, the region of the Middle East that includes modern-day Israel, Lebanon, and Syria. More specifically, the mitochondrial haplogroup closely matched populations historically linked to that area. This wasn't a vague coincidence. It was a direct genetic connection to the Holy Land, and evidence suggested it dated back to a time before Columbus ever reached the Americas. The implications were staggering. At some point centuries ago, a person from Western Europe and another from the Middle East were both present on Oak Island, and somehow became part of whatever happened deep within the Money Pit. Carbon dating placed the bones somewhere between the 14th and 15th centuries, long before the colonial era. Suddenly, the simple image of pirates burying treasure no longer made sense. Instead, the evidence pointed towards something far more organized, possibly an international expedition operating with a secret objective. Whoever built the mysterious underground structures may have brought people from distant parts of the known world to this tiny island, creating one of the most complex and puzzling constructions ever discovered. These bones didn't just add another clue to the Oak Island mystery, they completely changed the puzzle. The question is no longer just who buried treasure here, but what they brought and why it mattered so much. Because whatever was hidden on Oak Island may have been far more important than gold, more than a pirate's story. The discovery of Middle Eastern DNA on the island forced historians and researchers to revisit the evidence with fresh eyes. For years, investigators had noticed strange clues that didn't quite match the pirate narrative. These odd details were often dismissed or ignored because they didn't fit the popular theory. Now, however, those puzzling fragments of evidence are beginning to line up, forming a picture that is both clearer and far more mysterious. The presence of someone from the Levant alongside a European individual strongly supports one of the most intriguing ideas ever proposed about Oak Island: the possibility that the island may hold the final hiding place of treasures connected to the Knights Templar. To understand why that matters, you have to look back in time. The Knights Templar were one of the most powerful and secretive military orders of the medieval world, founded in the 12th century, and their story may be far more connected to Oak Island than anyone once imagined. The Knights Templar were originally formed to guard Christian pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land. From their base on Jerusalem's Temple Mount, the order rapidly grew in influence, wealth, and reach. Over time, they built what many historians consider one of the earliest international banking systems. Their power stretched across Europe, and with it came legends, stories claiming the Templars had been entrusted with some of Christianity's most sacred relics, possibly even the Ark of the Covenant or the Holy Grail. Then everything changed. In 1307, the King of France, deeply indebted to the Templars, moved against them. On a Friday the 13th, he ordered the mass arrest of Templars across the country. Their properties were seized, their members imprisoned, and many were tortured or executed. But something strange happened during this crackdown. The Templar fleet stationed at La Rochelle disappeared. Ships, crews, and a massive portable treasury vanished without leaving a clear trace. This is where the story begins to connect with Oak Island. One theory suggests that the Templars escaped Europe entirely. Using their advanced navigation skills, they may have crossed the Atlantic in search of a remote and secure location, somewhere hidden enough to safeguard whatever sacred objects or treasures they carried. And that's where the recent DNA findings suddenly become incredibly important. Imagine the scenario: one individual with French ancestry, perhaps a Templar Knight, and another with Levantine roots, possibly someone connected to the Holy Land itself. Maybe a scholar, a guardian of relics, or even an engineer, familiar with ancient knowledge from the Middle East. That combination suggests coordination, planning, and purpose. Not a random band of pirates digging for gold, but a disciplined order carrying out a secret mission. Once you look at Oak Island through that lens, many of its strangest discoveries start to make a lot more sense. Take the legendary 90-foot stone, for example. In the early 1800s, workers reportedly uncovered a large slab carved with mysterious symbols deep inside the money pit. One interpretation of the message claimed it read, 40 feet below, 2 million pounds are buried. The stone itself later disappeared, but the story endured. If the inscription truly existed, maybe it wasn't a simple pirate message at all. It could have been a coded system, perhaps a cipher understood only by members of the Templar Order. Then there's another puzzle. The coconut fiber discovered deep within the money pit structure. Coconut husk material doesn't grow anywhere near Nova Scotia. The closest sources are thousands of miles away in tropical regions like the Caribbean. Transporting massive quantities of it to the island during the medieval era would have required serious planning and resources. Interestingly, coconut fiber was often used in ships as packing material and as a filtration layer in drainage systems. That makes it ideal for the complex flood tunnels believed to protect the money pit. And those flood tunnels themselves raise even more questions. The engineering behind them, channels designed to allow seawater to rush in and flood the excavation area, suggests a sophisticated understanding of hydrology. It's far beyond what typical pirate crews would likely attempt. Some researchers believe this level of knowledge could trace back to techniques developed in the Middle East, where advanced irrigation and water management systems had existed for centuries. This is where the DNA evidence becomes so powerful. It connects the human story to the physical evidence. Suddenly, what once looked like scattered clues begin to form a coherent narrative, one that stretches far beyond a single island. The mystery of Oak Island may not be local at all. It may be part of a much larger story that spans continents. Who reached the New World first? The discovery of both Middle Eastern and French genetic markers in the Oak Island remains doesn't just reshape the mystery of the island itself. It also raises a much bigger question about history. Most people learn that Christopher Columbus made the first recorded transatlantic voyage in 1492. But evidence has been slowly building that the connection between Europe and the Americas may have happened earlier, perhaps much earlier. The Oak Island remains might represent one of the strongest clues yet. If the dating estimates are correct, they suggest organized voyages across the Atlantic were happening at least a century before Columbus. And these journeys may not have been about exploration at all. They may have been about secrecy. This possibility forces historians to reconsider Oak Island as more than just a treasure legend. It could be the focal point of a hidden chapter in global history. One name that often enters this discussion is Prince Henry Sinclair, a Scottish nobleman from Orkney. According to a controversial set of documents known as the Zeno narrative, Sinclair may have traveled to North America in 1398. The story remains debated among historians, but the connections are intriguing. Sinclair's family, the St. Clairs, have long been linked in legend to the Knights Templar. Their family church in Scotland, Roslin Chapel, is famous for its elaborate carvings. Some researchers believe certain carvings appear to depict plants like corn and aloe, species native to the Americas that supposedly weren't known in Europe before Columbus. If those interpretations are correct, it would suggest contact with the New World long before the official timeline. A journey like the one theorized for Oak Island would have required immense preparation. Sturdy ships, capable of crossing thousands of miles of dangerous ocean, crews sworn to secrecy, and skilled engineers able to construct complex underground systems. This wasn't a casual expedition. It would have been a mission carefully planned and executed with precision. And if such an operation truly happened, it's unlikely the people involved simply vanished afterward. They would have left traces, knowledge passed along through secret networks or later expeditions. Some researchers even wonder whether Sinclair's alleged voyage might have been connected to the same larger operation. The DNA discovery also encourages a fresh look at other mysterious artifacts across North America. One of the most debated examples is the Kensington runestone, discovered in Minnesota in 1898. The stone carries a runic inscription describing Norse explorers traveling through the region in 1362. Many scholars believe the artifact is a hoax, yet supporters argue it represents evidence of ongoing European presence in America long after the Viking era. But what if these discoveries weren't isolated mysteries at all? What if they were fragments of a much larger story? One that history hasn't fully uncovered yet? What if these discoveries weren't isolated mysteries at all? What if they were pieces of a hidden network of pre-Columbian contact, known only to powerful families, secret orders, and a handful of trusted explorers? If that were the case, Oak Island might have been the centerpiece of that hidden world. Not just a stop along a voyage, but a carefully engineered site built for one purpose: to conceal something so valuable that it had to disappear from history entirely. The goal wouldn't have been trade or settlement. The goal would have been secrecy, a secret buried so deeply that future generations would forget it was ever there. The bone fragments discovered in the Money Pit area suggest that people from very different parts of the world were present on the island. Imagine a team assembled for a mission like no other. The man of French ancestry might have been a Knight of the Templar Order, responsible for protection, organization, and leadership. Meanwhile, the individual whose DNA traces back to the Levant could have carried knowledge from the Holy Land, perhaps an architect, an engineer, or a guardian entrusted with sacred responsibilities. Together, they may have built something extraordinary beneath the island's soil. And if the evidence is telling the truth, they didn't leave. Their remains suggest they worked, struggled, and ultimately died there, their secrets sealed along with them beneath layers of earth and stone. If so, their presence reveals something remarkable, a level of international coordination in the medieval world that historians are only beginning to imagine. In that sense, the greatest treasure of Oak Island might not be gold at all. It might be the proof that this hidden chapter of history ever existed. In that context, the presence of someone from the Levant would make sense. Perhaps a guardian of the relic, or someone with direct knowledge of its origins. But the treasure might not have been a physical object at all. It could have been knowledge. So now, the question turns to you. What do you think was hidden on Oak Island? A sacred relic, a lost historical secret, or something no one has imagined yet? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed exploring this mystery with us, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the Explorer Truth for more incredible discoveries and hidden history.